friends, Charlie here from Base Miami, and I wanted to welcome you to our video series where we'll be discussing all things related to expansion into the US market. And today we'll be having a chat with Luis Pinate. He's a business and executive consultant and a strategist from Agile Consultants Group. And we'll be talking about mindset and success. Luis, thank you so much for being with us today. And if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how mindset and success are key factors to making it in the business world.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. And why is success and mindset linked? I will say once I understood what mindset was, and I realized that I have been an executive for a company for so long, probably with the wrong mindset, it changed my life. So I also realized through one of my first clients as a consultant, and that he was able to make so much money, lose everything, get up next day and make double the one he had before with very little preparation, with very little studies, only with a big willpower. And compare that to other people that have all the studies in the world and all the experience in the world that are always struggling to achieve what they want. That increased my curiosity of what is success and how do you guys achieve success and how other people don't. And that's what started my journey of, I want to learn about this. And I went back to Napoleon Hill with the book written in 1927 about success. And I used that as my Bible. This is what I need to do to be successful. But then you start reading other authors that says things completely different. And then you go into Covey and he says something else. And Tony Robbins says something else. And Robert Kiyosaki from Poor Dad, Rich Dad says something else. And then you're like, okay, at that point you realize that success is a complex matter. And it's complex because it depends on what you are looking for. Mm-hmm. So what means success for you maybe doesn't mean any success for me. Sometimes I'm pursuing success because I tend to believe that you're successful because you have money, and I force myself to get a certain amount of money only to find out that doesn't make me feel successful. Maybe being successful for me means having the time to spend with my family, or having the time to create a family, or being free to do whatever I want. So, success has a different phase in different people. So,
And do you think, Luis, is it that success has, as you said, different phase in different people, or do you think also that as a society, the knowledge or the view of success also changes? And I'm asking you this because I have a very successful cousin that works for Disney, and he's very big, like VP in that company, and he once told me, he said happy is the new rich, because before, let's say, being successful meant being rich, or being rich meant being successful, and today maybe there's a shift in that perception, especially with younger generations, where it's more, it's about work-life balance, and looking for happiness and taking it easy, and not so related to money. So I guess, as you said, it changes based on the person, but also maybe on the general society that we live in, no?
Yeah, for a lot of people, success means money. But only when you work with wealthy people, you realize that, well, you have the money, then you don't feel successful. Then what success means to you? I can, especially through this pandemic and this quarantine, I had the opportunity of working with people that have plenty of money, where money is not going to be an issue, not for them or their successors. Mm-hmm. And they were having such a miserable time having all the food and everything they needed, having doctors and access to everything, access to a plane to get up tomorrow and leave if you want to go to the mountains and hide yourself in the mountains. And they were going through misery. Instead, I also helped some entrepreneurs in LA that works for the entertainment business. Some of them live together, in a 2-bedroom apartment, and there's 5 guys living there. That's all they can afford. And some of them were so blessed by the opportunity of being in this country and working on their dream, which is working for one of these movie studios or one of these TV networks. And they were so blessed and happy. So that made me realize, you know what? You create your own reality. Your reality doesn't come from the money that you have or the experience that you have. It comes from what you're creating, and we create our own reality every day. So success is not money. I can tell you that.
And in terms of that, like when you're thinking or when you're saying like what makes people successful, how does the mindset relate to the success?
Again, it all depends, what are you looking for? It all depends what do you want? Because what I tell all my clients is your goals, your dreams, or your expectations cannot be limited by your mindset. Most of us create or build our dream based on what our mindset is telling us. I'll give you an example. You're not a good communicator. You're not good talking to people. And you get stressed out when you start up in a podium talking to people. So don't follow that executive career. Instead, you're good at computer and working on your own, and you're very good at it. So why don't you focus on developing that thing? And that even make you work on one path or the other because your mind is telling you that. Instead, when you work through the conscience and you say, this is what I want, and I want my brain to be supporting that. I don't want to question it. I want it to be supporting that. If I want to become the best chef in LA, I want my brain to help me become the best chef and not telling me, you don't know how to cook. You haven't even boiled an egg. So mindset is going to be determined whether you could or could not achieve what you want. That's the way we grew up. When I discovered that I can change my mindset to do whatever I wanted to do, that changed my life. And that's what I try to work with people. Your mindset is, and that's part of the concept of neuroplasticity. When you study neuroscience, neuroplasticity only proves that you can shape your brain. You can switch from writing with your right hand to your left hand, or not playing any instrument to become a piano player in a few months. All what you need is discipline. All what you need is, taking the right steps and force your mind that tells you, you know what, this is not possible, to say, I want to do it, and that's it.
So, that's interesting because, I truly believe in what you're saying about the mindset and the importance that it has in driving your life, and that essentially what you portray or you think about yourself is really how life will present in front of you. So, but there's also a challenge when we we have our self-limiting beliefs, things that we grew up with, and that we take it on our day-to-day. So how do you change that? Is it possible to change those, let's say, negative voices or perceptions that you have in your head to create a success mindset, I would say?
Absolutely. And I'm a living example of that. I remember when I went through a training with a Buddhist in New York. I found that fascinating because I wanted to understand, what is that limiting belief? How do I get focus? How do I get concentration? We have never been taught how to concentrate on anything. Totally the opposite. We have been rewarding multitasking. If you're multitasking, you think that you're better than the rest. And if you can send an email and talk to somebody on the phone and been thinking about what you're going to do, that's great. And the reality is that you're giving your 100%. Instead of giving your 100% to one thing, you're giving 30% to, the three things that you're working on. So I was wondering, how can I learn how to do that? I mean, and when I went through this training with the Buddhists, I remember him saying, your thoughts are not yours. And that mindset that you have is the one you choose, but you can change it. And I was like, how come my thoughts are not mine? They're coming from me. How can that be possible? And it's true. Again, when you start in neuroscience and you understand that what we have is a huge database, our brain is a huge database, and everything is there is because we put it, because somebody told us, or because we interpreted something and we put it right there. And all what we have been doing is finding evidence that that is correct. So if at some point you thought, or somebody told you, you don't have a good personality to be a president has to be nice, and you don't have that, and you believed it and you put it in your brain, everything you're going to be looking is evidence that that is correct. And those that prove that you're nice and you're charming and you could be, you're not going to record that, because that doesn't represent or support that idea that you have. So there are ways to change that. And there's different ways. If you go through the Buddhist type of ways, they have their own techniques to change your mindset. If you go through science, there's a different way. And I use them all. When I'm working with somebody, I use them all. And I said, listen, this is everything I've learned, how to change your mindset. And it takes a little bit of a courage as well. It takes a little bit of willingness to do it. But I have, not only that I'm a living proof of that, but I have hundreds of clients that we have changed their mindset and their life changed in a second.
Awesome. And question then, Luis, because let's say that, is this something that, is it an ongoing process? Like, or is it one of those, like, lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks? So I'll change my mindset in a month or two, and then I'm set for life and I have, suddenly a successful mindset? Or is it an ongoing process that kind of goes on throughout your life,
That's a great question, because probably it's never going to go. Probably that thought is always going to be there. Why? Because according to science, when you reach 35 years old, you already have enough evidence of everything to continue the rest of your life. So you have already witnessed depression, happiness, frustration, and you have enough evidence of everything to already continue with your life. But it's your decision if you want to do it or not. When you consciously decided that you want to do something or not, that's what makes a difference. The thought might comes to you to tell you you're not good at talking, and you realize that it's just that, it's a thought. And you might say, you know what? I know this is just a thought, and I'm going to continue my life, and I'm going to give the speech tomorrow, period. And at some point, let's say, remember that the subconscious doesn't know what is happening, if what is happening is real or it's just your imagination. That's one of the first clues to start understanding the way our brain functions. If you're looking at a horror movie, you got scared, although you know it's a movie, and although you know those are actors, you got scared because your subconscious doesn't know, well, this guy is in front of a killer or a murderer or not. Just the same thing. When you revisit it or remember that bad experience where you talk in front of people and you feel like you didn't do a good job, and you remember about that, and every time you're gonna talk in front of people, you remember about that experience, what you're creating in your brain is different records that has been happening. So at some point, you're going to have 100 records that you've been talking to, that you haven't been successful talking to people. And that 100 records probably just was in reality one episode that you have recreated in your brain for so long. So one of the things I teach my clients is we're going to have to battle that, bunch of records that you have. And if you have one, oh, sorry.
Okay.
If you have one, you're going to have to, start building up. So answering your question, is it going to be at 3 months? Probably not. Probably it's going to take a little longer. But what is true is that you're going to be able to create as many records that at some point are going to exceed that. And like in my case, do I still have my bad thoughts? I do, but they're not as usual as they were before. Now they give it a try, but they're starting to fade away. So it's a process that's going to take time. Not only that, your mindset could change. And now you don't want this. Now you want another thing.
And you can hear it. You can hear them coming and say, okay, I'm not going to pay attention to you now.
Exactly. That's it. You're just a thought. And that's why meditation plays a very important role, because I didn't even know how to meditate. I didn't even pay attention to that. I remember going to a few meditations, falling asleep immediately. And because I didn't understood what the meditation was about. When you understand that meditation is only turn off the noise and watch your thoughts passing by. It's like listening to your own brain. It's like I'm going to meditate about my speech, and and that's why you start changing your breathing pattern. Why? Because your breathing pattern is one of the ways to stop the control from the subconscious. Breathing is controlled by the subconscious. You don't really pay attention to at what speed are you breathing. So you start changing the way you breathe. So you take the subconscious, wait a second, I'm taking control of this. And at that point, at some point, you're going to give it back to him. Okay, keep on controlling the breathing. But at this point, I want to breathe at that speed. So you start taking control of your consciously, and you start paying attention to what your brain is telling you. And your brain is going to tell you a lot of things that you might not want to hear, but that's what, at that point, you realize that is just that. It's just a thought. It's just a thought that is seated there. And now I can change my attitude. Now I can change what I'm going to do in order to do whatever I want and know what my thoughts are telling me. Otherwise, it's going to be autopilot. Otherwise, you're going to do without even paying attention what your brain is telling you to do, and that's it. I don't know if that makes sense, but
totally. No, totally. Okay. I can relate, because I know I'm just trying to think, somebody that doesn't know about these things, how can, and that was my next question, and just to wrap it up, but it's, what would be the first step, for you to start working, even realizing on the mindset that you have now? And is meditation a good way to start? Let's say, okay, start meditating daily. And what would, if you met somebody new that is like, okay, so tell me, what do I do first? What is your recommendation?
Well, I have to say that my first recommendation is you need to get help. You need to find somebody that doesn't belong to your situation, that is not your friend or your family, to help you identify this limiting belief or hidden commitments or whatever you have. Because doing it alone is, I wouldn't say impossible, but I would say your brain is going to trick you to think the way they want. Because we all live in a comfort zone. And for us to step out of that comfort zone, imagine that you start a new diet, or let's say you go to the gym and you are very motivated and you decided today I'm going to go to the gym, and you sign up for a gym and you go for a week. That is taking you out of your comfort zone, because you're a very relaxed guy that enjoy watching your sports on or Netflix on your couch and eating pizza. So you're stepping out of your comfort zone. What is your brain going to do? Your subconscious is going to, at all costs, try to bring you back to that comfort situation. So after a week, you might say, you know what, it's been a week already. I can probably, I'm gonna stop going to the gym for only for today, because I already gained all the strengths that I wanted, and let me just relax today. And that relax today is just allowing your subconscious to take control back, and is doing the exact same thing you have been doing. So eventually you go back to be the same guy you were. And that's why going to a motivational speaker makes sense, because you get out of that motivational speech super, super motivated. But then the next day you go to the same place, you eat with the same people, you do the same things, and you go back to be the same person that you were back in the same comfort zone. So my first recommendation is you need to get help to understand what are your limiting beliefs, and you need to get help to understand how do I start getting rid of that. And I can promise you that we can all do with our life whatever we want, whatever we want. I can decide it today that I want to be the best chef in Miami, and I can put my mind to do that and just do it and go ahead and do it. It only takes grit, and grit is super important. People usually base their life based on talent, and talent can help you, but grit is what makes the difference. When I told you about that client that I had that make money, and he wasn't worried about money because the greed was so big. He was like, I'm gonna make money regardless. If I don't make it selling this, I'm gonna be doing this. His courage, his passion, his commitment was so big that he will do whatever he wants. So greed is super important, attached to habits, having the right habits. Some of us have wrong habits that doesn't let us move forward. And discipline. Like the Japanese says, discipline overcome skills. If you're a good runner, but you run when you want, and you don't follow the right nutrition guidance, and you don't take care of yourself, and I'm not such a good runner, but I take care of myself and I train every day, eventually I'm going to beat you. And that applies to everything.
That's awesome. So grit, habit, and discipline, those three things.
Those three things are key. And the complication is to find where's the grit coming from. Because that grit needs a good reason why.
Right.
That greed, and that's what I work most of the time, trying to find the reason why. Okay, you want to be the president of that company. Why? Is that really what you want? Yeah. Why do you want to do it? Well, I want to do it because I want to be a president. That's not enough. I want to do it because I want to make money. You can make money in many other ways. When you focus on you and the tools you have, that's the wrong path. When you focus on something beyond that, you want it because there's a reason behind. That's because you want to make proud your family, because you want to be able to support your kids, because you want to leave a legacy of doing something, because there's a bigger and stronger reason behind. When you find that, you're unstoppable. At that point, you're totally unstoppable. But that's the key.
Awesome, Luis. Well, thank you so much for all the insights that you shared. It's been a pleasure to hear and to learn everything that you're working with, and especially knowing that anybody can access this. It's just putting their minds to it, and also looking for support with people like you, right? So thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure. I wish I could have known all this when I was on my 20s. It would have made a big difference. But it's available now. It's science is moving at a speed that it's incredible. It's incredible. Every day we learn something more about our brain and the way our brain works, and the way we can tweak our brain to do different things. So it's a good thing.
Awesome. Thank you, Luis. Thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.